is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we're back here with another episode of The Breakdown on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Matt Hamilton. That's Chase Daniel. And Chase, it wasn't as pretty as we thought it was going to be from the Chiefs offense, but they got the job done on Thursday night against the Broncos. What jumped out at you when you think back at that game?
That seems like so long ago, right? Like a century ago. We've had so much game film, other than that. But when you look back at this game, it's not really anything the Chiefs did. It's not really anything the Broncos did. It just reminds me of the parody of this league. Like everyone is going to give, especially the Chiefs, their best shot, right? And anyone can win on any given day. And I think I don't know if KC was necessarily, because I've heard this on social media, taking the Broncos lightly. I just think that the Broncos had a really good game plan. That offense of the Chiefs, which we'll break down here in a little bit, just didn't quite seem right. I mean, they were held to one touchdown, right? And so the Broncos on defense, you gotta be loving where you're at when you can hold Patrick Mahomes and go to one touchdown. They ended up losing the game, low scoring game. I mean, it just seemed like around the league this week, everyone in general was a low-scoring game. I think there was the average points scored between teams were like 18.4 points per game. It was the lowest since 2015. So I don't know if that was defense, bad offense, what it was, but it was an interesting game and just another win for the Chiefs. No matter how you get it, it's another win.
And you're right, and that's the bottom line, is they just keep stacking wins like we were talking about last week, and they're still sitting in that number one seed in the AFC right now. But there were some things that did concern me a little bit as I went through the tape, and I'm sure you saw some of this too. Is there an issue, a trust issue with Mahomes and some of these young receivers?
Well, I don't know if there's a trust issue. I don't think he'd ever come out and say it, but I will say, other than him throwing to Kelce, the timing and the separation for these guys just don't seem to be there. I don't know if it's more of a trust, more of a separation, and I go back to it. And I say this all the time, and Chiefs fans might not like it. Like, why in the world aren't you out there getting a true number one receiver? Look, I love what MVS has done. I love what Rashee Rice has done. I love what Watson's done. I love what Tony's done. Sky Moore, all these guys. Okay, but I just feel like they're just one true number one receiver away from being completely unstoppable. And luckily for them, they don't have to be unstoppable right now because that defense is top 5 in the league, right? But you still want to continue to build. You still want to continue to move forward and move the needle forward, and they're going to get it fixed eventually, right? It's Patrick Mahomes and co. I mean, no one's going to count them out, but it was. I mean, and I look back at the game film, and the Broncos just played this cover 4, cover 2 shell look a ton of times. Said, hey, we're going to keep everything in front of you guys. We're going to try to match Kelce underneath, which Kelce got his, and we're just going to try to take away the quick game. We're going to have to be really good against the run. And for the most part, they did. And it's like, hey, moving forward, is this going to be the recipe to stop the Chiefs? I don't think so. I just think eventually they're going to have to get rolling and get rolling quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking, I want to throw a few names out there since you brought it up, just some guys who reasonably might be available. You look at Carolina, you look at the teams that are really struggling right now, might be selling off pieces. Carolina has a guy like Adam Thielen who's been playing really, really well this year. You look at maybe a return of Juju if the Patriots decide to start selling off pieces. Is there somebody out there? Obviously, those aren't the go-to dominant number one guys, but do you think a guy like that would be enough, or do you think they need something a little bit more even than that?
I think someone like that would be enough. Now, the whole point is, I don't know if each is going to make the trade, right? They've never been really active around trade deadline, but I think they really like what they have in their guys, and it's part of the process. It's part of the growth, because I don't think that Veach or Andy is looking, hey, this is the answer today, right? I think they're looking 2-3 years down the road, and what they could possibly have. So eventually, you're going to have to get reps with Mahomes, and that's they're doing it in game situations, which there's nothing like game situation reps. And game live reps, but eventually it could come back to bite them in the butt a little bit. But they're winning, and they're winning because of their defense. And honestly, in the past 5-6 years that they've been, who they've been, and since Mahomes has been the starter, they've never really won by their defense. It's always been Mahomes. So this is a really good sign for Chiefs fans.
Yeah, because you got to think this offense is going to start getting it rolling at some point. And if this defense keeps playing like that, they don't need to be the offense they were last year or 2 years ago.
No.
So they just they need to be a little bit better than they are right now, but they don't need to, be that record-setting offense necessarily to be able to win another championship. Let's dig into some of this film, and we'll start with Mahomes' interception, which obviously he's forcing this ball. But what else beyond that? What stood out to you when you look at this play?
Well, you never love to have red zone interceptions, right? Like at the end of the day, it was just him trying to do a little bit too much. Obviously, the ball got tipped, whatever. Obviously, we're going to draw this play up right here. It's just all goes special with a little corner route down here by Watson in a little return route. And the coverage that they're in, it's called 4 mini, okay? You can see the Mike linebacker, the nickel, and the strong safety to the field, Justin Simmons. They're in a triangle cover. So they're triangling number 2 and number 3 by the Chiefs. And you see here, it's spotlighted on Kelce. You got this backside safety who's honestly cheating to Kelce's side. So they got 3 defenders on Kelce. So he doesn't want to go there. Would love for him to just come out and hit this return route. This corner tries to undercut it. Okay. And he just sort of, the pocket collapses in front of him and he's trying to make a play. You got both guys going to the same part of the end zone. And then you're going to see here from this other view, the ball just gets tipped. And this is stuff that, Patrick has gotten away with in the past. And I'm not saying, hey, who knows? This might be an amazing superhero throw when it gets tipped right here. But Justin Simmons seems to always get him in these big time situations in games. And honestly, he has a decent amount of time to throw. But on a route concept like this, a longer developing play concept, this all goes special with the return and a corner route. You got to hold the ball. There's really no check down for you. And so I think that was probably the issue on this play for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that certainly hurts. And it hurts his ability to throw the ball away, too, without that check down. Once he has that guy wrapped around his leg, you think you'd love to see him throw it away, but you're right. There's really no option for him to dump it. I mean, maybe just take the sack. You got a great kicker, take the points and keep moving. But yeah, it's just it's a rough situation. You're right. It does seem like some of these plays he's gotten away with over the last couple of years that have kind of gone his way are going against him this year. So we'll see if it evens back out the other way. But we'll keep it moving here to another third down. In a key part of this game on the plus side of the 50. What jumped out at you here?
Well, honestly, really cool route concept. And I know we have like a little hook route drawn by Kelce. I swear to you, he was going to run a corner route. I've seen something like this. It's just a mesh with shallow cross, but he turns outside and all these middle hooks that he runs, once we run it, you'll see he turns outside. He turns in. Okay, I think he probably saw this corner out here to the bottom of the field saying, hey, it's covered 2. If I run a quarter, I'm completely dead. And all they're trying to do is high-low this receiver coming underneath in Kelce. And look, watch Kelce right here. The pocket's horrible. Okay, Kelce ends up turning outside, and Mahomes gets pressure. He's got such a knack for knowing when to climb up in the pocket. And he obviously sees this is covered 2. And then obviously, when he's out of the pocket, the guy he trusts the most, we talked about it a lot in the last play, was Travis Kelce. So for him to make this play, this throw on a third down to getting them into field goal range was a huge play in the game when offense was at a priority. But I promise you, I just don't know if Kelce was running a middle hook route, which makes this play even better to see. And you see Mahomes here, his eyes go directly to Kelce. You saw him turning outside. It's just one of those really great plays from Mahomes that we're so used to. Right here, he turns outside. I don't know. I think what do you think, Matt? I mean, I think it's supposed to be a corner route, but who knows?
I think you're right. And it's really doing the show with you this year and the knowledge of this offense that you have too. It's made you realize just how much Kelce and Mahomes just freestyle out there so much. And it's it's so rare to see, and it's incredible. I think you're right. It does. You don't see routes in that middle hook run like that very often, or at all, really. The one thing here, and you're seeing it now. It's an incredible throw from Mahomes. I'm not trying to nitpick here, but do you want to just hit Rashee Rice on that shallow crosser because he's picking up that first down, right? And it's a much easier throw.
Yeah, much easier throw. But at the end of the day, his mind and his demeanor continue to go back to Kelce. That's his guy when he gets out of the pocket. And honestly, it wasn't a great down of protection from the left tackle there. He just got beat because they were in double A, he got mugged. And so Mahomes had to get off his spot early, okay? And usually when he gets off his spot early, he's pretty dangerous to let these route concepts just make themselves known. And then honestly, Kelce just turned right there. It's just so easy. And so, I mean, that's what you see. Broken plays like this is what make them, these two, some of the best in the game.
It really is incredible. And the fact that they can do it this consistently is just, we're watching history unfold right now with those two and what they're doing. And speaking of this last play is as good as it gets across the board for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And we see even with Patrick Surtain, one of the best corners in this league, on Kelce, the ball that Mahomes is able to throw here, break this one down for us, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, they know they got zone coverage. It's just too deep safety look. I think they're going to rotate down and look at all these lines on it's just crazy, right? Like, it's nuts to me. All it is a simple play action, and they're going to make this motion, this speed motion over here. And all it is, I mean, it's going to get to a play they run all the time. It's just double post with a deep cross, right? So Mahomes is reading through the double post. They see single high, it's dead for him. And he sees Kelce. That's his next read, and you got a flat route too. So, I mean, it's easy on paper, but this throw, I'm telling you, over a hook curl defender with probably one of the top 5 corners in the game on Kelce's back, running away from him. To me, I mean, this throw is like a trust throw of all get out, because I'm more worried about the underneath defender, right? I'm more worried about 47, this strong hook curl defender. But honestly, Kelce's route too, the shimmy, shimmy, shake that he does on stuff like this, like it's something that they have in every single week. It's just, how is Andy Reid going to disguise it? And he's disguising it by looking like a trips bunch formation with a tight X split, okay? Well, how are you going to get to it? You're going to jet motion and keep him on the move. He's going to just clear it out versus single high. He's going to run a post versus 2 high. It's single high here, so he clears it out. And then just bring Kelce on a deep cross, 18 to 22 versus 18 yards versus man and 22 versus zone. And it's completed at like, 17, 16 routes, 16 yards down the field, which is like textbook.
It's unbelievable. And you're right. The underneath defender, Josie Jewell there, he gets depth. He gets in pretty good position there. And you see it from that angle. It's just a perfect throw. But it's also all that eye candy in the backfield. You know, if Jewell's first step is forward, he's trying to figure out what's going on back there. And that little bit of hesitation allows for just enough of a window for Mahomes. So really, it's everything working in concert. It's the special connection between those two, but also all the eye candy and the play design that Chiefs throw at you too. That's just it's impossible to defend this offense when it's really clicking.
Yeah, and you just can't. Yeah, honestly, like you can't. I mean, if I'm a defender and I'm breaking this down in the film room, like you can't defend it any better. Because honestly, the hook curl gets a lot of depth, even if he steps up with a little bit. Like he ends up getting a ton of depth, but it's just deep enough for a little over the top throw right here to Travis Kelce. And this is the one I think that they showed T Swift in the box going crazy with Brittany Mahomes. So I'd love to see that.
It is as good as it gets, and the Chiefs keep it moving on this weekend, hosting a team that you are very familiar with, the Los Angeles Chargers, coming off of a rough Monday night loss against the Cowboys. What's going to be the key to this Chiefs offense getting going this week against that Chargers defense?
Yeah, I mean, look. If I'm the Chargers, I like, I don't love that I lost, but I like that I played probably my best game on defense against a decent Dallas offense. I don't think they're great. I think they're pretty good, above average. And, they got a tough test. And it's just, it's these two teams again, right? It's like what you see. It's like there's teams that are meant to play each other and play each other really, really tight, really, really close, no matter what you have on offense, no matter what you have on, it's these two teams. Same division, obviously, know each other really well. It's just like, hey, can the Chiefs continue their dominance on the Chargers? Because I think they've won like 3 of the last 4, and it's always a difficult game, right? Like for the Chiefs, but I think this one means a lot to the Chargers. The Chargers are 2-3, would hate to go to 2-4. If you can get back to 3-3, you feel better about yourself. I think another week with Justin's injury, learning how to handle that. I think that affected his accuracy some last week, going back to the all-22, even though it's on his left hand. And then the Chiefs are going to have some plays for the Chargers, right? It's more like what the Chargers can do on defense because it's just like the Chiefs are going to get theirs, and the Chiefs defense too, like really, really stout, honestly. So I don't know if this is going to be a high-scoring game on Sunday.
I want to ask you about Justin Herbert too, because, we had a chance with the ball in a 2-minute drill to try to go down and at least tie the game, send it to OT. And I saw a stat that was kind of staggering, which was he has 13 interceptions in the fourth quarter in 1-score games since he's come into the league. Over that span, no one else has more than 8. To me, I don't think, there are people I like to use a lot of loaded words to describe it. I don't think it's a choking thing. I don't think it's anything like that. We've seen him come up with plenty of big plays too. Is it just a matter of learning how to protect the ball in certain situations, what he can and can't get away with, and he maybe forces things a little bit too much in those big situations?
Well, I think it'd be interesting to dive deep into the fourth quarter and like, hey, is it a 2-score game? Is it a close game? What's the situation within the game? Because a lot of these times, like, we're getting beat. He might throw one up that he probably wouldn't make in a situation. It's maybe not a tight score game. You saw this past week, though, on Monday Night Football, Quentin Johnson. He was throwing to Quentin Johnson on third down. They had a zone beater up. They ended up playing man. Stephon Gilmore steps in front of it. And honestly, like, yeah, I mean, you could fault Justin for it, but the more I look at it, like, Quentin Johnson's got to keep coming back to the football. He just stopped and let him undercut. So it's all these growing pains, I think, with the receivers. And I definitely don't think it's a choking situation. It's just like, hey, it's eventually these tides are gonna turn. He's gonna win the tight games in the fourth quarter. And under this offense, I do think he's having one of his best years yet. Obviously, everyone knows what he did his rookie year, but he's on a path that's going up, and he's been fun to watch this year, honestly.
Absolutely. And the protection on that play too with the interception wasn't perfect either. So there's that factors into it all, obviously, as well. And I agree with you. I think he's playing some really, really good football this year. And it's almost what makes it more frustrating with this Chargers team. Because I was talking with BJ Kiss on Monday, and he asked me, we're doing his 21 question show. And one of the questions was, which team scares you the most from a Chiefs perspective? And to me, when I look at the Chargers roster, when they play to the peak of their abilities with the talent that they have across the board, that's the team to me. But I don't think we've seen that team all year playing at the peak of their abilities. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when they caved those real barn burners that they had against KC in both of those games. Like, we haven't seen that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know this is a little bit of a loaded question and there's not an easy answer, but what is it that you think that you see that's holding this team back from really playing to that peak potential?
Well, obviously, like last year, injuries, right? And that's always been the case with them. They're healthy now. And when I say healthy, well, they're semi-healthy. Their starting quarterback still has a fractured finger. Okay, so it's just learning out there and getting experience, getting put in the right positions, getting the right play calls. It's everything working in tandem together. And I don't think they've had that so far, and I think they've been a lot better. I think the defense is starting to come into its own, so it's just going to be an interesting matchup. It's so early, even for the Chiefs, like, to say, hey, they're this team, they're that team. The Chargers are this team, that team. There's so many more games to get played, but you just want to continue to see them to progress, even if they don't get a W, and that's what they're going to be hoping for Sunday.
So, Chase, do you think I'm going to put you on this all a little? Do you think this is the week that the Chargers start figuring it out? Do you see an upset brewing, or do you think the Chiefs take care of business here?
I really like the Chiefs and what they do on defense. I think that it's going to be an interesting game because they always play at the end. But at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs are going to end up with a win, and I think it's going to be because of their defense. Obviously, you're going to live to see Patrick Mahomes get back on schedule with his receivers and tight ends and running backs. Would love to see the Chiefs try to run the football a little bit, take some pressure off Patrick Mahomes in those situations. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with you. The way that defense is playing right now, it's hard to pick against them. And, the Chargers defense, you're right, that was the best showing by far they've had this year, but I still don't know if I trust them. We've seen Kelce have a lot of big games against this team. So I'm with you. I think the Chiefs do get it done, and we'll see if the Chargers if 2-4 is going to bury them or if they're going to be able to work their way out of it. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one to break down. I can't wait to see that one on Sunday and dig into that film, and we'll be right back here next week to break all of that down for you and more. Look ahead at maybe some trade deadline possibilities for the Chiefs as we start inching closer and closer to that. But for Chase Daniel, I'm Matt Hamilton. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.